All right, guys, I'm Bobby with Pheasants Forever, president of the Central New Jersey chapter here. We finally have a special guest here, Ryan from New Jersey Division of Fish and Wildlife. He's going to answer a few questions for us here. Pheasants Forever and the Fish and Wildlife and the R3 program have actually partnered together a few times and have done a few awesome programs. I know last time we did a live stream, we actually talked about the Women's of Outdoors R3 one, which was actually my first one attending. And I got to tell you, it was one of the coolest events I've got to, because one, I had my dogs working for some first time hunters and seeing the joy on their face. I thought the number of women that actually came to that event was huge compared to some of the ones that I've seen before. So that was a pretty awesome event to see firsthand. I know the guys down in South Jersey, Scott and everyone down there really buckled down and helped out as well. So it was a really cool event. That was pretty remarkable. So I'm going to let Ryan here introduce himself a little bit, tell him what he is, and then we'll get into a little bit of Q&A if Ryan wants. So go ahead, Ryan, introduce yourself for us here.
Thanks, Bobby. I appreciate it. So good evening, everybody. I'm Ryan Risher. I'm the state's R3 coordinator for the Division of Fish and Wildlife. First, I want to just emphasize something real quick, and just Bobby's introduction, his level of enthusiasm with some of the stuff that we have going on. I think it really reinforces a lot of the good things that we have kind of coming down the pipe when it comes to our R3 program. I'm going to kind of kick this off maybe a little bit a doldrum with some just kind of background information as to kind of how we got where we are building this R3 program. So those of you who don't know out there what this kind of acronym stands for, R3 is, it stands for Recruitment, Retention, and Reactivation. And all these other state agencies out there, not just New Jersey, is immune to this consistent thing that we're identifying with declining hunting participation, shooting sports participation, angling participation, things of that sort. So it's been like a really big movement probably for the past decade. And back in 2017, 2018, we finally kind of got on board, drafted up an R3 grant narrative, and we've really been just kind of hitting the ground running with a lot of new kind of innovative programs and stuff like that that I've been kind of, spearheading. And when you look at, kind of the landscape in New Jersey, we've in the past, say 30 years, we've lost almost 45% of our hunters. We lose about 1.3 firearms hunters a year. So project that out, there's kind of a lot at stake, not only for, our hunters, our anglers, our target shooting enthusiasts, voice out there, but there's a lot more kind of at stake as far as, how, our agency, other agencies out there, NGOs such as Pheasants Forever, Quail Forever, NWTF, DU, I mean, the list, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, the list goes on and on, as far as, what their following looks like. So this is a really good opportunity for us to kind of all get behind each other and basically stop that bleeding and start to, stabilize our hunting numbers, stabilize our angling numbers, and reverse that decline. When you look at, this, the homogeneity over, our hunters and anglers, you're talking somewhere, it's very disproportionate to the state's general population. There's, when you look at, say just men versus women who are participating in hunting, you're talking 97 to 96% of those people are male, very male dominated. Yeah. The remaining portion of that is females. But when you look at our general population, it's very disproportionate. There's more women in our population in New Jersey than there are men. So, we're trying to develop ways to, basically bring that disproportion down and get more women out involved, things of that sort, getting more families out involved. So, we basically developed this R3 program with kind of 5 really major approaches. One of those being developing a mentoring program. And this isn't something unique to New Jersey. A lot of states are starting these types of programs, one-on-one mentoring type things. We actually just did one this past Sunday through Tuesday. We did a turkey hunt for women who were just getting into turkey hunting. Maybe they were hunters doing other things, never really got to, dabble in turkey hunting. So we did that. We had them basically from A to Z go through, calling, scouting, different techniques in certain landscapes.
Awesome.
If you harvested birds and stuff, like it was a lot of fun. So, building that kind of capacity for those types of outreach events and, it being in a mentored environment, which is what a lot of people need now, finding a lot more people aren't coming in that traditional pathway through a dad, an uncle, grandfather, things like that. So, those people already have a barrier set up that we kind of are hoping to, help them navigate a little bit better. So, we're developing this mentoring program, for people who are participating in our Take a Kid youth events, our other upland events that we do, our waterfowl events that we do, our turkey hunting events that we do, to just really bolster up that mentoring aspect of what we can provide to, new hunters and things of that sort. We're also really expanding target shooting opportunities, that whether they are introductory type things for people who have never held a firearm, don't know where to even begin with firearms. That's a very intimidating thing to some people. So we're trying to break down some of those barriers to make people understand and support what it means to, go out and actually have fun target shooting, and breaking a lot of those misconceptions about what it means to be a firearms owner, to educate them on how owning firearms, participating in target shooting actually benefits wildlife conservation. We were actually just in a NEAFWA an R3 forum yesterday, and we were talking so much about how there's so many new firearms owners out there. And I think it was like 80% of them don't hunt, don't do anything wildlife related, and they're helping fund wildlife conservation. And there's this disconnect where we're trying to bridge that gap of how do we get those people to, support, what they do as, recreational shooters, and make that link between what we do as wildlife, professionals. We're really expanding all the research and evaluation that we do. So, when we do programs, we're very robust in how we evaluate the programs, how, people find out about it, to them showing up to it, to them rating, the mentor that they had, the mentees being evaluated, and basically just kind of coming full circle to make sure that all the effort that, our volunteers are putting into programs, that we're putting and investing ourselves into, our financial resources into, making sure all of that's kind of following a very kind of specific way to say, hey, these ends justify the mean, and, these people are taking away something, and, we're kind of getting something on the back end for them. So that's been, something I kind of really spearhead on the back end, is really taking kind of a concerted effort to looking at that human dimensions aspect of it. For example, I just finished up our 2020 pheasant and quail stamp buyer survey. So, we did one in 2018. Now we're going to be doing one in 2020 to just, again, just kind of keep tabs to make sure we're making certain steps in the right direction. And, it's allowing us to kind of hold ourselves accountable, and, just make sure if there's things that we can do that are going to enhance opportunities to make more people go out and, enjoy what they do on stocked WAMOs, that we can do that.
Right. It's great that you have that data so you can actually circle back to and see the increase.
Yeah, it's good to have, on our end, to be able to use that to make, conscious decisions. But also, I think, kind of going forward, what it's going to allow us to really do is, as we relay that information to people, where they may come to an event, I use the example of, the fishing derby mindset. 20 years ago, everybody wanted to do fishing derbies. They wanted to see a bunch of kids just out fishing, smiling, having a good day. They could just wipe their hands clean of it and say, this is a good event. And they just assumed that all these things were just going to make kids into anglers. And what we've largely found is that's not necessarily the case, because a lot of those kids were already kind of pre-exposed to it because they were coming from families where they were exposed to it. So, you still see some of that same sentiment with certain programs, and it's not that they're bad programs. It's just that, we want to always be improving them and not get so static or just kind of, run down, kind of doing the same thing without like basically looking at it unemotionally and saying like, well, this is what the data from this program, this is what the evaluation from this program is saying. Is it worth keeping? Is it worth continuing? How can we make it better based off of what people are telling us? So that's kind of the program in a nutshell. A big nutshell.
You pretty much you did cover a lot of good information in there. So I do want to say that, I wanted to circle back. You did say like it's bringing more people outdoors, and we are seeing that there's people that you really wouldn't suspect that would want to be out there. You're like, oh, this is great. I worked with someone for 10 years. And I didn't know they wanted to start pheasant hunting. You don't know until you ask these people. And when we actually did this, when we were down south with you guys, we saw a lot of people. It was great how you did it because you were showing them the firearm safety first. They were actually trap shooting before they even got to the field, explaining the safety. And I feel like that's really great that you actually, instead of them just going out and buying a stamp and just getting into a field and not knowing what they're doing, this is great to show them exactly the etiquette and everything that they need to know in order to properly field dress a bird down to. I mean, that was great that you could actually see every process throughout the day of how to actually do that. And, I mean, just like I said, being part of that was really cool, really special opportunity that I got to see. One of the girls in my group actually got her first bird ever. And her dad was so proud. Her dad was watching as a mentor. So that was, those are like things that we like to see. And that was really cool to me. So kudos to you guys on that. So I did want to say that the way you guys actually did that program was unbelievable. And I hope the next one that you do, more people see this video and actually come out and engage in this because of the way you guys did run this. So we do have a couple questions. A lot of them you did answer actually in your introductions, but
we're good to go then.
Yes. See you later. Yeah, you're done now. So the first one is pretty broad. Who benefits from the R3 program?
Yeah, so that is a very good question, and I guess I will reiterate. I think the biggest start is people who are interested in hunting and angling, target shooting, who either currently do it because their sustained participation is a huge component of R3. I use the example, if you look at it from like the business side of things, if you work, in retail, or if you're a business owner or something like that, I think, there's a quote out there that's like 90% of your, future business comes from 10% of your customer base. Obviously those numbers don't hold exactly true for, any agency out there. The sentiment still holds true. A lot of the bulk of your participation is going to come from a very core group of people. So it's important to, make sure that, excuse me, you're providing opportunities to keep those people around, make them happy, and, things of that sort. But yeah, the two other ends of the spectrum where, you have people who maybe, they're kind of on the fence. They don't really have an opinion of hunting or angling or anything of that sort. Or they're just kind of stuck in the middle and they're interested about it, but they don't really know how to get started.
Yeah.
Providing those resources to get those people involved and just giving them that in, like you said, known somebody for 10 years and the biggest barrier for them is it's literally having somebody that asks them to go.
Yeah.
And we don't think about that because we're so just spinning our wheels in the way we've done things, and we take stuff like that for granted. So there's that huge benefit for people who they just need to be asked. They just need that invite.
Right.
And I would encourage people to, give people that invite. And then the other side of the spectrum is, people who, there's a certain population of people who they just kind of like ebb and flow through hunting. They may do it once a year. They may do it every couple of years. They may not buy a license the next year. And it's like, part of our responsibility is trying to understand what is it about those people that make them do that? You know, is it something that we can, and I'll say this, my biggest thing that I always kind of ask myself, and this is kind of trickled down from other people than the agency, is, you know, what is it about those people that, you know, what can we control to, you know, get those people back and get them involved again? You know, is it something in our control that we're just not, maybe not providing as an opportunity? Or is it something that's out of our control? Is it time? Is it family? Is it work? Things that, you know, we don't have any control over, you know? So there's a really fine balance of basically providing opportunities and programming that's going to fit all three of those kind of, you know, people that we're, you know, looking to get into benefiting from R3. And again, that trickles down not just to us, but and who those people are, but, you know, our NGO partners out there who, you know, they're kind of in the same boat. You know, they ebb and flow through, you know, who becomes members, who lapses out of being members. Um, you know, and they have their own fiscal responsibilities and so forth for, you know, what they're able to do. So, you know, if we conceivably have more people participating, there's going to be a larger pool for them to draw from.
Right.
That's just benefit everybody. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer.
Yep. No, I don't think a lot of people realize like how much goes into this program and how much time and dedication you guys actually commit to this. And they don't see behind closed doors the data that you guys are finding out to see, like, you know, you're listening to those questionnaires, you're watching those surveys, you're checking the data to see where you can improve and where, you know, that's huge. I think that is one of the best things that you guys are doing, that and being engaged with everybody and trying to find out, hey, what can we do to make this better? And I think that's what it's all about right there. Is that's just a phenomenal thing that everybody thinks that, you know, what happens behind the closed doors over there, but they don't realize how much stuff you guys are actually doing for us here. So
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of wheels turning. You know, perfect example. You know, we've been trying to, you know, just kind of figure out like different ways that we can just get the word out there more about what we're doing, you know, aside from, you know, just social media posts and stuff like that, because there's, you know, again, that's kind of one lane that people get information.
right.
So, you know, one thing we've just started doing, my assistant and I, so there's other states out there who do like basically like monthly newsletters to their constituents and so forth. We've started doing these monthly newsletters. We actually posted our first one today for May. You know, it's got a little bit of information in there about like what the R3 program is, a little bit of the statistical background of kind of how we got here, a couple of like fun facts. But you know, the big thing in it is it highlights stuff that we did last month, and it's going to highlight stuff that's kind of coming up. So it's always going to kind of keep people in the loop of what did we do previously, you know, the past month. Now, what is kind of coming down the pipe that maybe if people are interested, you know, they can sign up for, and, you know, we can just expand how we're keeping in touch with these people and create all these touch points. You know, with Hunter Ed, when people go through, they complete it and everything, they get, you know, an email sent to them, hey, congratulations for completing Hunter Ed, this and that and the other. We're going to start putting these newsletters in there. So if people who are coming through, you know, we did a survey for a couple of years. You can actually see right there, Hunter Ed surveys, a whole binder of them on top of that box. We were looking to see what people wanted when they came through Hunter Ed, what kind of next steps, things that they were going to need that would increase their likelihood of going out and participating more. And a lot of it came down to was just these next step resources about the game species they were going after, whether we were doing seminars or workshops, just providing some sort of information to them.
Right.
So we're going to be putting those into now these Hunter Ed emails. We're going to be putting these listserv newsletters out into a listserv email and stuff to just reach more people in an expedited fashion. So people are just more aware of, you know, what kind of resources are going to be available for them.
Yeah, that's awesome. And now I think you said it. Now, are you going to announce events on Facebook and inside the newsletter as well? So when there's stuff upcoming, they can register.
Yeah. So, I mean, typically a lot of our R3 events, you know, we do post them on social media and stuff like that. We'll also have them in this newsletter. That way, you know, it kind of double dips where people are going to be able to hear about it. You know, do our other, you know, listserv emails to kind of put out updates about what we're doing, just to, again, you know, just highlight the stuff that, you know, is kind of going on. And it's not just, you know, stuff kind of going on behind the scenes. It's stuff that we're, you know, we're getting this information from our constituents who have come to our events or come to Hunter Ed. And as we provide these opportunities, it's quite literally us holding ourselves accountable to say, hey, we heard you. This is what we're going to do to provide, some opportunities for you that hopefully encourage you to, you to get out in the outdoors more.
That's awesome, man. That's honestly awesome. I don't know how many times I said it, but like just the fact that you guys are listening is what, like, that's awesome right there. Taking those surveys, taking the time. This program is unbelievable. I mean, I as you can see, I'm always excited for this. So, all right. So our next one is, so these are questions that actually came in. So does the program have its own birds, or does it take away from the stocking scheduled birds for the state?
So I won't get into like the nitty gritty of all of it, but I'll keep it really simple. So we have, a certain amount of birds that get allocated for our stocking season, across 15 stocking days and so forth. Last year, hopefully most people out there recognize that, we ended up stocking more birds.
I recognize that. I will say that. So I don't know about it.
COVID and a lot of the, sentiment and out there, just say, I would sympathize with a lot of people's, personal frustrations with what was going on in the world. This was kind of let's give a little bit of a glimmer to people and say, hey, stock some more birds this year, which we'll be doing again this year. So we do have a certain, portion of those birds, obviously, that goes for regular stocking days for people who want to participate in hunting on stocked mammals. Have another little allocation that goes towards Take a Kid Youth Hunt, whether it's that morning of, the afternoon stocking that we do, things of that sort. And then we have this other little piece of that pie that goes specifically to our 3 events. And that's, events that we do for disabled veterans or just veterans in general, active duty military that we've started to expand on this year. Women's events, it's basically kind of culminated to really look at, any sort of kind of underserved constituency that maybe, we think we should be providing opportunities for that maybe we haven't done in the past, that this is an opportunity for us to do that. Again, coming out of the surveys, one of the things we hear a lot of is, why aren't we doing this for, guys who are just getting into upland hunting who are interested? And we hear that. We're going to be doing that this year. So again, one of the things, we're able to hold ourselves accountable for, and, we don't want people to be feeling like their voice isn't heard in that sense.
Yeah, no, that's great. So now that this question kind of goes in with what you were just saying there, are there any events planned for this year that you know of right now?
Yeah, so obviously the one that you came down to, we'll be doing that one again for sure.
I'll be there again for that one. So.
Yeah, I would definitely like to. I know we've talked about it a couple of times about doing something up in Central.
Yep.
We got locations, I think, buttoned down to do something up there. We're going to kind of expand on a couple other veteran opportunities. Last year we did one up north for women as well, so I'm sure we'll be expanding that again. Take a Kid be rocking and rolling just again as it always has. Obviously we have a few kind of tweaks to it this year. So, one of the things I did want to touch on. So, with this program being so new compared to other programs that the division has, for example, Hunter Ed, aquatic ed programs that they do up at Peak West, where, they have volunteers just the same. What we're really trying to do with this being a new program, not that Take a Kid's anything new, but we're really trying to kind of mirror what a lot of other states and a lot of other NGOs are doing and how they build up their mentoring programs. Because the Take a Kid hunt, it's a mentoring program. It's a mentored hunt. And we want there to, be this consistency across all of our programs. And that way, it streamlines things for our mentors. It streamlines things for our staff, for the participants, and it gets everybody on the same page. Oddly enough, speaking of Pheasants Forever, Quail Forever, a lot of our mentoring programs skeleton is, I don't want to say it's carbon copied, but a lot of it is based off of and very influenced off of Pheasants Forever's mentored program that they do out in the Midwest.
Right.
They've built a very robust kind of training program for their mentors that goes into, you know, the North American model for conservation and kind of its pillars. It really delves into just a lot of the noise about how people contribute to wildlife conservation and how to have those conversations with people. It goes into just how to just mentor different audiences and different in different situations. So how does one mentor and, you know, engage if they're doing a one-on-one event versus a seminar, if it's something for women versus youth versus millennials. I mean, these are all target demographics that are not going away. I mean, they are kind of paving the way as we see, you know, our baby boomers kind of aging out of the sport. So we have to be kind of, you know, tweaking how we have these conversations with people based on what their expectations are, what their, how they're interested in getting into the sport. You know, we need to be accommodating to that, to where, you know, the way things were maybe introduced to somebody 15, 20 years ago, it's not the same for somebody now.
Right.
That's what's so great about, you know, it's kind of your quintessential adaptive management. You know, you got to kind of, you know, adapt as you go, and you know, you can't be kind of stuck in, you know, how things were done in 1980, 1990, and, you know, kind of keep up with the times, so to speak.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And just to touch on what you said there, because you technically brought it up, I will say that, yeah, Pheasants Forever does have a great program. There's a bunch of them, but the No Child Left Indoors one is a great program that they're offered with mentorship, habitat education. You know, they teach exactly pretty much what the R3's goal and mission is. I mean, it's, you know, they're taking it off with that too. But I don't want to take away, you know, from your time. So we're going to talk about that another time on another interview there. But you did say it, so I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we got another one here. We talked about the events being planned. Are there any limitations on who qualifies to take part in these events?
Not necessarily. So, you know, we kind of have two sides to these programs. You know, we focus on doing some of these like enhanced mentored hunts, looking at people who maybe they're a deer hunter, they're just a hardcore deer hunter, hardcore turkey hunter, whatever the case may be. And, you know, maybe they've just never had the opportunity to try pheasant hunting. They've been interested in it. There's nothing that says they couldn't do it. You know, we want people who are going to look to expand their participation too, even if they are already a hunter.
Right.
There's nothing, you know, wrong with that. I mean, I think one of the things we've emphasized is, you know, kind of this inclusivity of, you know, if you kind of, you know, fit this bill of, you know, being a hunter who either is expanding their participation or you're totally green. I mean, we've had people who have come, they've bought apprentice licenses and they've just, that was their invite to be able to actually try hunting for the first time. Again, like it fits that bill as well.
Yeah.
And the other side of it too, you know, there may be, you know, people out there who, you know, they just don't maybe have the time, you know, they maybe lost a dog. I know that's a huge, you know, kind of mental block for some people. They lose a dog and they don't have it to want to maybe get, you know, kind of continue on upland hunting. But they enjoy hunting over somebody else's dog, or, you know, maybe they can't get around like they used to and they just need a more controlled environment, and it's going to, you know, make them maybe want to get back into it. Yeah. I mean, like they're just as, you know, they're just as in our wheelhouse as, you know, the next person to be able to do that too.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think we've talked about this before. I mean, I've bought a duck stamp for 20 years and I have never duck hunted one time. And you know what it is I actually, you know, it's just one of those things where I just didn't know where to start. And I swear, and you know, it's funny because we're in New Jersey on the coastal area, and I mean, I've got deer, coyote. I've never actually went for duck, which I'm going to change this year. I promise you, I'm going to try it. And I'm going to get out there and do some duck hunting this year. So we're gonna spread my wings on that one. My biggest problem is getting my dog to sit still, which I don't know if you can hear them. They're pacing around the house right now. 3 German short hairs are just pacing. So getting them to relax and sit down doesn't happen. All right. Last one that we have is what is needed for someone to come to an R3 event? Do they need a hunting license, or what is needed for them to come to an R3?
So typically, depending on the type of event, all that kind of stuff will be out. If it is something hunting related, again, kind of the great thing with having a mentoring program, they can come as an apprentice hunter. We'd be able to pair them with somebody if they've never hunted before, but they want to try and they haven't taken hunter ed yet. By all means, they could get an apprentice license, and we could go down that route. A lot of our target shooting opportunity type stuff, where we invite new interested target shooters to come out and just kind of learn, whether they've never really trap shot before or anything like that. There's really no experience necessary. It's if you find the event and you want to register for it, you create a CID and everything and register for it, you're good to go. Again, kind of reinforcing the fact that a lot of our programs and opportunities are pretty inclusive. We're wanting to just, again, kind of build up this capacity for people who are going to get into it and kind of run with it.
Yeah, that's great. And I don't know, we planned on having a trap shooting event actually this year for Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever at Ground Swipers again. We're in the works of trying to plan it. So I mean, we can talk. Maybe we can kind of partner up with something and make do something up here, because we want to have you up here in our area. So.
Yeah, that's again, we have slowly been branching out to the central and northern parts of the state. Just a lot of our kind of guinea pig pet projects have been, started down here to where we can kind of work the tweaks out, and that way, as we progressively move them around the state, and hopefully I get a little bit more help under my wing with other staff to work under me.
Yeah, I think you did 2 in like one weekend, and you were in like Sussex and like Millville, like within like 2 days or something.
So yeah, so that weekend when you were down here, I was over in Millville doing one for active duty military.
Okay.
We had some folks who came off of like Fort Dix and Lakehurst, I believe, so up in that area. So we did an upland hunt, for active duty who they just don't have the time or maybe the resources to get out. So we worked with Gallant Heart on that. And that was a great event. I mean, I really enjoy doing these types of events. Like, you just get to meet a bunch of good people, and
I was shocked, man, when I went down south and I pulled into that parking lot. My mouth actually dropped by how many women I saw standing in that field, ready to go hunting and ready to learn about everything. I thought that was, like I said, I mean, it was one of the coolest events that I've ever partaken in down around here, and I'm excited to do it again. Well, I'm sure you're gonna have an even bigger turnout for this upcoming year.
So if you saw how big that turnout was, I think I maybe kind of caught everybody by surprise. And again, coming back to evaluations, we maybe set that one a little high. With that being said, what we're finding with some of these events that we're doing, I mean, people are traveling like hour and a half, 2 hours just to come to these things. I mean, there's a couple of target shooting events that we did about a month and a half ago. I mean, there was people driving from like an hour and a half away just to come trap shoot for an hour.
Yeah.
And, like, it's pretty cool. But what it's doing is it's reinforcing the idea that we do need to, kind of mobilize ourselves to, put some of these events a little bit closer to where people, live.
Right.
It also shows the demand for and the interest that people are willing to come so far to participate in an event, and learn from people who we're partnering with, and things of that sort. So we'll definitely be doing that one again, but it's going to be a little bit more tame.
Okay.
My assistant was about ready to rip my hair out if she did hers, because that event blew up. I think like the first year we had like 13 people, and then that one there was like almost like 40, and
yeah.
That was a lot of juggling, and I felt kind of bad I wasn't there, and I was doing my own juggling with the other event. But
I was in the field, ran a group, and they were like, "All right, you ready for your next group?" I'm like, my dog's like on the ground like dancing. But I was like, "Let's go, we're ready to go again." It was awesome, man. And what's funny is, you said I drove. It was 2 hours for me to get there. And then I was talking to somebody and they said they drove from, which is like 40 minutes north of me. So I was like, wow, I was amazed that they made that drive down to there. And because it was a hike for them. So, but you know, you got there, you learned about the trap shooting, how to properly handle the gun. You were able to shoot a gun a couple times. And if I remember correctly, they were actually guns there available for them as well, right? If they didn't have their own firearm. So there was a couple.
You know, the hunter ed guns. If people, you know, again, big barrier for a lot of people is they don't have access to a firearm.
Right. Yeah.
So it's great that our hunter ed program and our program kind of talk back and forth to one another where we can coordinate with our CPOs and have their presence there for them to kind of educate people about regulations and firearms transport or whatever kind of questions they want to prompt our CPOs with. So it's a good just kind of event where it gets not just our bureau involved but our other bureaus kind of all kind of acting in cohesion together.
Yeah.
It's a really nice thing that gets to happen with these events.
Yep, I'm looking forward to another year of events from you guys. That's for sure. So no matter where you have them in New Jersey, I'm sure I'll be there. So that was all our questions. Did you have anything else that you wanted to touch on? Maybe that someone didn't answer or anything like that? I mean, we covered a lot of information, and I think a lot of people got really informed by everything that you said here today. So, and I'm hoping that everybody got excited. Come out and check out the next one. Sign up for a few of them. Get some more rolling. So that would be really fun to do and partake in again. So. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just, kind of leave off saying I appreciate the invite. As we're building a lot of this capacity on our end, again, I say this very truthfully on mine, I'm all about kind of, accountability, for what our grant narrative kind of sets forward for us to do. And there's a lot of meat on the bones of it that we're chewing at. And I get pretty full sometimes. So, if anybody out there, if they're interested in, being a mentor for any of our programs, whether it's Take a Kid, it's, any of these other OPWIN opportunities through, our partners. If you're part of another NGO and you're interested in, being a mentor, whether it's, again, one-on-one things we do, workshops that we do, seminars that we do, it's kind of an all hands on deck kind of thing that we're looking to do again to, kind of stabilize this decline. You see all over the internet, how, a lot of people are aware of it, but, they kind of stick their heads in the sand when it comes down to kind of doing things about it and get things done about it. So I encourage you all to maybe share some of that same sentiment and we'll see what happens from there.
Perfect. And I don't think people realize how dedicated you and your assistants, everybody at the R3 program really are. I mean, I see the enthusiasm every time at the events, everybody running around and helping. And sometimes you go to these events and you stand there kind of awkwardly, and that's just not the case at these events. You kind of everybody's engaged, everybody's helping someone. It's really, hunters really stick together in this one, and everybody really helped everyone. So I want to thank you for joining me today, and everyone, talking to everyone, all our members and any listeners that's going to be watching this video. And again, thank you for your dedication and what you do inside the R3 program. So I don't think you get enough thank yous, to be honest with you. So, well, I appreciate you jumping on here. I'm going to stop this one here. And again, thank you again, Ryan. I really appreciate it.
Yep. Sounds good. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks.